We've already seen quite a bit about the RPC interface, and here's a summary of all the commands. To summarize in a picture, you can have a node like get or open Ethereum, which you can run on your own machine, or you could run it over a gateway, which is on the internet like Infura or Cloudflare. Well, there are RPC interfaces. They're usually over HTTP or HTTPS, but it could be over WebSockets, or if it's the nodes running on your own PC, you could also use the IPC protocol. That's an internal protocol on your PC. And over the internet, you cannot use IPC, but you other ones. But if you go to this site, you'll see the documentation of all the RPC calls. A lot in there. Over here, you see a list of all the RPC calls. I've clustered them a little bit to make it somewhat easier to understand. So there's a set of RPC calls with some general information. That's this set of calls, like the client version and the gas price. Is the client syncing, but that's all some general information. You go here and check out that command. You can play with it yourself. The next type of calls are the network information. So you can get a chain ID and a net version. And that's pretty important actually to differentiate on which Ethereum network you are. So for example, chain ID and network ID 1 means Ethereum mainnet. Other chain IDs, network IDs mean other network like test networks or completely different networks like Ethereum, from the Avalanche. Go to this site, you can see a large list of those. The next type of RPC calls is about block numbers, how you can get the block number, or you can get the blocks itself based on the hash or number or something. Here's a call to get the storage or storage position in a smart contract. You can use that to access basically any variable in a smart contract. So not only the one that's exposed to the outside, but everyone. And retrieve code from the blockchain. Can get the logs. So the log emits that you can give you. Here are the calls to get the transaction information. You can get transaction different ways. First, two calls to get transaction counts, or get the transaction themselves. You can even get pending transactions that are not already blocked, so they still have to be packaged in a block. These are calls to get the so-called uncles. So that are blocks that are not making it to the main chain, but they're sort of side blocks that have not been selected to the main chain, and they're called uncles. But you, if you as a miner make uncles, you still get some rewards. These are calls concerning about accounts. So ETH accounts is what we use a lot to get the accounts from owned by the client. The Coinbase address is the own address of the node. So if you would be mining from that node, that's the address where the mining rewards are going to. So you have to be pretty careful. You can get the balance of an account. Here you can get Merkle proofs, but we hardly ever use that. And here you can see the transaction from a certain address. Now we're switching over to smart contract functions, to calls. You can sign a transaction, and here, and later on you can send a raw transaction, send the transaction that has been signed, call to estimate how much gas you're going to need for your transaction. Don't supply enough gas, then your transaction doesn't go through. Each call is to call a function on a smart contract, but in a read-only way. You don't update any information, but you get information. That's returns immediately. So whenever it's possible to use a call, that's all better than to update. Now this is how we send a transaction. With this call, we get the transaction received afterwards. This is the raw transaction that you use in combination with signed string. Also a couple of utilities, like for example, SHA-3 call to create a hash, and CAC256, that's a synonym for SHA-3. A little bit different. Here are some calls about mining. So eat mining, is a node of mining or not. And the hash rate, submit work to it to mine and get work. But yeah, this is only relevant when you're mining. You wouldn't normally use. Now, filters are interesting calls. These are the calls where you set one filter and then you get a lot of information back out of it. So these are interesting to look at. So you can get logs out of that. Yeah, so they are pretty good, and